it can be applied to Sister White and B.T. Hotep because they had been sealed. It's such twofold view of the closing work for the church, which the first view is in the heavenly sanctuary, and the second view is. Now, let us now study closely. Now, let us go back again to track number 5 on page 74. So, let us read the statement given by the shepherd's rod. Track number 5, page 74. It will be noted that the 144,000 are called the first fruits, denoting that they are sealed at the beginning of the harvest, the commencement of the time to separate the tares from the wheat. Now, the statement did not say that they are sealed. The statement did not say that they were sealed as in past tense, but inscribed in present tense, that the 144,000, all of them are completely sealed at the beginning of the harvest, the commencement of the time to separate the tares from the wheat. When does the 144,000 are sealed? At the beginning of the harvest. Now, let us put again. Here, brothers and sisters, a little diagram so that we could understand. So, here, we divide into 2 divisions. According to Answerer number 2, page 36, it says, the harvest is a period of time having a beginning and ending, and during its time, men are saved. So the entire harvest period is provisionary time. So this is the entire harvest period. Entire harvest period. And the entire harvest period, according to the shepherd's rod, is provisionary time. But it was divided into 2 sections. Beginning and ending. Brothers and sisters. So, beginning is a gerundial noun or verb in ing form, progressive. So, the word beginning is a period of time. There must be commencement and end part. The end part of the beginning of harvest is the commencement of the ending. So, these 2 sections of the harvest is the twofold view of the sealing of the 144,000. The first view is the beginning. And what is the first view? The sealing of the 144,000 in the heavenly sanctuary, which is not common to the Davidian. They have no understanding concerning it. Why? Because it is already declared in the prophecy in the book of Isaiah that is great apostasy. Brothers and sisters, now let us read in 1 SR 219. Otherwise, the Bible is not telling the truth. Brothers and sisters, we need to accept what the Bible teaches rather than what human beings are telling us. Now, it says here in 1 SR 219 and 220, to the prophet Isaiah, this great apostasy, what apostasy? Great apostasy, fostered by blind spiritual guides, was revealed, which he describes in the following scriptures. Then it says, and he saw that there was no man, and wondered that there was no intercessor. Therefore his arm brought salvation unto him, and his righteousness it sustained him. Isaiah 59:16. And I looked, and there was none to help, and I wondered that there was none to uphold. Therefore, mine own arm brought salvation unto me, and my fury it upheld me. Isaiah 63 verse 5. Micah, looking forward to this wholesale deception, says, trust ye not in a friend, put ye not confidence in a guide. So here in 1 SR 219, 220, the great apostasy is the prophecy recorded by Isaiah on Isaiah 59:16, Isaiah 63:5, and Micah 7 verse 5. These three prophetic verses is great apostasy. And according to 2TG 44, page 38, this is the declaration given by the voice of inspiration concerning Isaiah 63 verse 5. As one of the prophetic verse we read in 1 SR 219, 220, describing the great apostasy. It says, looking down to this very time, the spirit of prophecy in Isaiah's day said, and I looked, and there was none to help, and I wondered that there was none to uphold. Therefore mine own arm brought salvation unto me, and my fury it upheld me. Here you note that when the time came, so when the time came of the great apostasy, there was not even one among his servants. Of course, the statement, his servants, they are recognized by God as his servants, but not even one among them to uphold the work of the harvest. And consequently, the Lord himself did the work without them. So, here in 1 SR, on page 100, let us read 1 SR page 150. It says, 1 SR 150, Isaiah 59 verse 16, first part. And he saw that there was no man, and wondered that there was no intercessor. God was astonished. Moses and Aaron stood between the dead and the living. So, it is a testimony of God. God himself says, there was no man. Now, if you will say that there is one. Brothers and sisters, I would like to read first the statement in Sister White in Testimonies for the Church, Volume 1, 355. Volume 1, 355. It says here, Volume 1, page 355. I was pointed to Isaiah 58, Isaiah 59, 1 to 15, Jeremiah 14, 10 to 12, as a description of the present state of our nation. So it points out to the United States of America. The people of this nation have forsaken and forgotten God. They have chosen other gods. Of course, that is Baal. And followed their own corrupt ways until God has turned from them. God turned from them. What nation? United States of America. So, Ezekiel 22 verse 30 and Isaiah 59 pointing to the United States of America, that at the commencement of the harvest, there is not even one. Who said it? God. Brothers and sisters, there is not even one to help the work of the harvest. And what is the arm of the Lord? That is the movement. Therefore, the movement which is of God cannot be the last and the final movement, cannot be in the United States of America. Because God Himself testified, there is not even one among them that I raise up, that I use. Then you will say, there is a man here. Then you are saying that God is a liar. The greatest offense that we can commit, according to 2 TG 35. Right, brothers and sisters? So I would like to read the statement here in 1 SR 150. And he saw that there was no man, and wondered that there was no intercessor. God was astonished. Moses and Aaron stood between the dead and the living. Numbers 16:48. God used Elijah on Mount Carmel. You see, in anciently, God commanded Elijah to go to Mount Carmel. But during this antitypical showdown, brothers and sisters, God will no longer send antitypical Elijah the Tishbite. Because if God will send antitypical Elijah the Tishbite in the United States of America, then the declaration given in the Bible would be in gross mistake. Brothers and sisters, the 144,000 living saints throughout the whole world, more particularly in the symbolical earth, they were scattered without a shepherd. That is the description during the great apostasy. When would be the great apostasy will be fulfilled? At the commencement of the harvest. What is the commencement of the harvest? The sealing of the 144,000. So here it says, brothers and sisters, God used Elijah on Mount Carmel, 1 Kings chapter 18. In the crisis here brought to view, God finds no man. So He Himself interposes. Ezekiel 22 verse 30. Now let us read Ezekiel 22 verse 30. Ezekiel 22 verse 30. Let us read the Bible. It says here, Ezekiel 22 verse 30, and I sought for a man among them. It is figurative speech, brothers and sisters. But the mere fact that it is God Himself who made a testimony is sufficient enough that we should not doubt. And I sought for a man among them. How is it that the pronoun them? Who is the pronoun them? That is man. They were human beings. So it points out to inspired servant of God. God is looking a man of God. Because that's what it means by inspiration. A man called of God. Here in the Old Symbolic Code, I would like to read that statement. Old Symbolic Code, 2 Symbolic Code 3 and 4, page 13. 2 Symbolic Code 3 and 4, page 13. 2 Symbolic Code 3 and 4, page 13. The following quotation plainly shows that only inspiration, a man called of God, can declare the truth and nothing but the truth. So what is inspiration? A man called of God. And that's why here in 2 TG number 9, it says here, on page 7, 2 TG number 9, page 7, we know that the Spirit who leads into all truth and all knowledge, is not himself led or taught by any man. Hence, why should we depend on any man that is divested of inspiration to pass judgment on inspired truth? The word points out that not men only, but even the nations are as nothing. The nations mentioned in that reading is the nations in the United States of America. No, it is nothing in the sight of God. So it says here in Ezekiel 22 verse 30, and I sought for a man among them that should make up the hedge and stand in the gap before me for the land. That is United States of America. That I should not destroy it, but I found none. That God will not destroy Assyria, but God found none. Ezekiel 22, verse 30. And it was illustrated by the red dragon. That according to the shepherd's rod, that in the symbolization of the red dragon, the only true people of God is individual. The individual people. But the fact is that the description, they did not bow their knee to Baal. Meaning, brothers and sisters, they recognize no shepherds. The only shepherd that they recognize is Jesus Christ. They were scattered throughout the United States of America. Now, let us go back again, brothers and sisters. According to the voice of inspiration, brothers and sisters, that there are twofold view of the sealing of the 144,000. By which, in reality, if you will fail in the first view, there is no chance in the second view. The first view of the sealing, brothers and sisters, is in the heavenly sanctuary. That in order for us to let our names be retained in the Lamb's Book of Life, we need to be sealed, brothers and sisters. And that sealing is in accordance with the present truth. The shepherd's rod made it so plain that the saints of God in all ages are sealed with present truth. And whatever that present truth is, that is the seal. 1 SR page 28. According to these scriptures, which are plainly stated, we must conclude that the saints of God are sealed with present truth in all ages. And whatever that present truth is, that is the seal. Now, what is the present truth under the seventh seal? Of course, that present truth under the seventh seal, that is the heavenly truth mentioned in 2 SR 172, by which no one understood that heavenly truth except the 144,000, because that heavenly truth is the present truth which is intended to the 144,000 living saints in order for them to receive the seal of the living God. Now let us read again in 2 SR page 172. It says, the song was sung in heaven by heavenly beings before the throne and before the beast and the elders. Therefore, it is evident that the judgment was in progress. Further explanation to follow. Note that the 144,000 did not sing, but they only could learn the song as it was sung in heaven. That is, they alone understood the heavenly truth in that particular time, and their position in connection with the message they must bear. 2SR 172. So brothers and sisters, only the 144,000 understood this heavenly truth, because this heavenly truth is the truth that will seal them for translation. No more a promise of resurrection, brothers and sisters. And that present truth is unfolded unto them during the time when the judgment for the living was in progress. According to this reading in 2SR page 172. Brothers and sisters, I remember the statement in 1SR Pocket Edition saying that, I would like to read that reading in 1SR Pocket Edition. It says in page 56, the eye focused to the light of heaven sees that Jehovah God, the super artist, has employed in the scriptures every method known to mankind by which to unfold the wondrous structure of redemption. I love so much this reading. You see, God, Jehovah, the super artist, employed in the scriptures every method known to mankind. And it was enumerated one by one, the method. In page 37, it says, 1SR Pocket Edition, page 37, that the Bible reveals its tremendous truths in diverse ways, in numerics, in symbols and figures, and in parables and allegories, in dreams and visions, in types and providences. There are 9 methods mentioned here. Numerics, symbols, figures, parables, allegories, dreams, visions, types, and providences. Employed by God to reveal the wondrous structure of the plan of redemption. And the shepherd's rod declared clearly in track number 5. It says here on page 36, I would like to read track number 5, page 36. It says, just as the alphabet lends itself to the fabrication of words, phrases, and sentences into a predetermined pattern of thought, sustained and coherent, likewise the Bible, when made wholly self-defining, marvelously builds its richly varied materials, types, symbols, parables, allegories, numerics, etc., into a towering revelation foreordained of perfectly coordinated, life-saving truth. Accordingly, as every letter, every word, and every phrase of a sentence has its appointed part to play in giving coherent expression to the thought intended, just so has every scripture its appointed part in unfolding Bible truths, when each is carefully joined in its right relation in the picture of revealed truth, one leading on to and illuminating another. The great overall design stands out in all the solemn majesty of His mountainous finality in grandeur. And in track number 15, although it seems synonymous, but it says here in track number 15, on page 34, it says, the scriptures, as every Bible student knows, are designed to be present truth at certain times, meet in due season, especially adapted to meet the people's needs. Now all these things happen unto them for examples, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 11. In other words, the scriptures are similar to long-term bonds or notes which become due at a given time. Obviously, then, the time appointed by inspiration is the time in which one must cast in on them, so to speak. Track number 15, page 34. Now, let us see if we could be able now to withdraw those spiritual treasure that had been deposited from 1930 to 1955 that we could cash at this present time. Now, I would like to read to you, brothers and sisters, track number 5. Here in track number 5 on page it says here, page 114. Track number 5, page 114. It says, chapters 10 and 11 of the Revelation covers a series of events different from those of chapter 9. Now, this is the portion that I would like to emphasize. Verse 10 of the 11th chapter brings us up only to the time of the fulfillment of the marking and slaying Ezekiel 9 in the church, or to the commencement of the loud cry of the third angel's message. So I would like to read again. Track number 5, page 114, concerning Revelation 11, verse 13. It says, verse 13 of the 11th chapter brings us up only to the time of the fulfillment of the marking and slaying Ezekiel 9. So Ezekiel 9, there are two main subjects, marking and slaying. Of course, marking precedes the slaying. So, let us read again the statement. Verse 13 of the 11th chapter brings us up only to the time of the fulfillment of the marking and slaying Ezekiel 9 in the church. So, Ezekiel 9 in the church, because there are two slaughtering. The slaughtering in the church before probation closes, and the slaughtering in the worldly churches after the close of provision. 3 Symbolic Code number 1, page 8. But this statement says, verse 13 of the 11th chapter brings us up only to the time of the fulfillment of the marking and slaying Ezekiel 9 in the church, or to the commencement of the loud cry of the third angel's message. Track number 5, page 114. Now let us go back to track number 3. So our subject is marking and slaying. Marking is the great day for the righteous. Slaying is the dreadful day for the wicked. And hoping that we will be among that righteous, by which that is a glorious day. That is a great day, brothers and sisters, to obtain the seal of the living God in our foreheads. Now, I would like to read track number 3. So, let's read track number 3 on page 86. Track number 3, page 86. The 40 days Acts chapter 1, verse 3 and 9, from the resurrection to the ascension, are consequently typical of the period from 1844 to the fulfillment of the marking and slaying as recorded in Ezekiel 9 and Revelation 7 verse 3 to 8, Revelation 14 verse 1 to 5, respectively, and in Testimonies to Ministers, page 445, Testimonies volume 3, page 266, also Early Writings, page 270 to 273. Now, brothers and sisters, this is a deep subject. And track number 3, page 86. The voice of inspiration says, the 40 days from the resurrection to the ascension are consequently typical. Typical of what? Of the period from 1844. What is the period from 1844? The judgment that pertains to the dead. So it says, of the period from 1844 to the fulfillment of the marking. Not only to the fulfillment of the marking, but as well as to the fulfillment of the slaying. Now, is there any division explain the 40 typical days? Stated here in track number 3, page 86. Type, brothers and sisters, is called by inspiration as great searchlight. Now, I would like to read to you. 2SR 267. 2SR 267. A great searchlight by the power of the Spirit shining through the types is the only medium that can remove the obstruction and clear the way to an understanding of this and many other mysteries that are considered incomprehensible and that baffle the human mind. You see, brothers and sisters, the voice of inspiration declared clearly in that reading that the types are God's great searchlight. The only medium that can clear the way. All other mysteries, prophetic mysteries, and that's what it means by Emmanuel. In track number 14, page 44. I love so much this reading. Track number 14, page 44. It says, the statement God is with us implies that He is not with the nations that are affiliating themselves for mutual protection, and that therefore they shall be broken, whereas His followers shall then be delivered. Nevertheless, for God to be with us, in this special sense, we must of course make a special effort to be with Him. And to do this, we must sincerely study His way and follow joyously His stately steps, which lead us to a full knowledge of the prophetic mysteries. You see, full knowledge of the prophetic mysteries, enabling us to avoid the pitfalls and to stand though all others fall. Track number 14, page 44. Now let me read to you here the third edition of track number 3. So let us read track number 3, third edition. although we read it several times, but I think it is beneficial to read it again and again. It says, tract number 3, third edition, page 6. It was during the 40 days of Christ's personal presence with his disciples, from his resurrection to his ascension, that the first fruits, the 120, were gathered in. His presence among them has a deep meaning, and it should be understood by every disciple of Christ. Reminds us, who are they? The true disciple of Christ. Now let us read again 2 TG 42, page 21. Just to read the description of the true disciples of Christ. 2 TG, let us read. 2 TG 41, I think 41. Page 21. It says here, a disciple, it says, a disciple is one who follows Christ on and on in divinely revealed truth, which he accepts not because others do or do not, but because the Father, which is in heaven, has through his Spirit personally convinced him of it. Matthew 16, verse 17. Because independent of what others do or say, he is personally persuaded by the Spirit. So that is the true disciples of Christ. 2 TG 41, page 22. Now let's read again. Tract number 3, third edition, page 6. It says, it was during the 40 days of Christ's personal presence. It says, it was during the 40 days of Christ's personal presence with his disciples, from his resurrection to his ascension, that the first fruits, the 120, were gathered in. His presence among them has a deep meaning. So, God's presence among them for 40 days, there is a deep meaning. And that is one of the description of the wise, according to 12 Symbolic Code, number 6 and 7, page 18, saying, 12 Symbolic Code, number 6 and 7, page 18, since none of the wicked shall understand. Daniel 12, verse 10. Since none of the wicked shall understand in the day of the Lord. What is the day of the Lord? The great and dreadful day of the Lord. Since none of the wicked shall understand in the day of the Lord, it shows that the truth will become deeper and deeper until finally the wicked will not be able to comprehend it. So, the message will go deeper and deeper until the wicked will no longer be able to comprehend it. And it is really a very astonishing, according to 2SR. B.T. Hotep says here in 2SR on page 253, it is not only wonderful to invent a lamp throwing out a light of such amazing candle power, but it is also astonishing how our God can cancel his marvels from the eyes of wise and prudent men. Then in his own time, he sets them upon high hills by which he is able to light the pathway of the searcher for truth, and by its glaring power, blindfold the sight of the wicked. Therefore, the people that does not understand shall fall. Hosea 4 verse 14, light is sown for the righteous and gladness for the upright in heart. Psalms 97 verse 11. So it says here, that His presence among them has a deep meaning. Track number 3, third edition. His presence among them has a deep meaning, and it should be understood by every disciple of Christ. If these 40 days have no other significance, they certainly bear the thought of His personal care over the ingathering of the fruit. What is the 40 days? The ingathering of the fruit. It says, but shall we say this vigilance was true only during His short stay with His laborers in that particular time? Such thought would not entertain the truth of His being the only Savior from everlasting to everlasting. Lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Matthew 28, verse 20. It says, is He not the same vigilant Savior of the Old Testament as well as the New? Indeed, moreover, His personal care in gathering His people in those 40 days, which we see to be a type of His supervision of the ingathering of the fruits in every generation, should therefore reveal that He is the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world and the Good Shepherd in all ages. You see, brothers and sisters, the statement very plain that what is the 40 days? Typifying all the ingathering. Now, can you make a diagram that is very familiar to us? April 31 AD. And then, so that, hope you understand what I'm saying. The 40 days, only the 40 days, April and May, 31 AD. Make a diagram. I will make you a guide. So, this is the type. April 31 AD. So, this is the type. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So we have May 31 AD. May 31 AD. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it is 1. Then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Then 16, 17, 18, 19. Why should you need to put 18 then 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So from April 18 to May 27, of course, the remaining days is 13 plus 27 equals 40. But there are 3 given numbers here. 18, 13, and 27. These are the 3 given numbers in the type. Now, let us now study closely, brothers and sisters, that wonderful structure of truth revealed by a very simple illustration. That's why I remember, brethren, here on at track number 5, on page track number 5, page 44, it says, thus in one short verse, that is Revelation 8:7, thus in one short verse of Scripture, the whole story of the flood is told. There is seen in the symbolism of the first trumpet not only a marvelous simplicity and accuracy in telling the past, but also a great economy of time and of writing material, the latter being a commodity which was then at a great premium. You see, brothers and sisters, our Almighty God, He had been able to explain the entire history from creation to flood, 1,656 years, by one short verse. But in this instance, all the ingathering was revealed in that 40 typical days. That is why in that 40 typical days, brothers and sisters, that is the only chapter and the only verse that you can read infallible proofs. There will be no other verse in the Bible that you can read the word infallible proofs. Let us read Acts. That is the verse that had been quoted in track number 3, page 86, right? Acts chapter 1 and verse, let's read Acts chapter 1 verse 3. To whom also He showed Himself alive after His passion by many infallible proofs, being seen of them 40 days, and speaking of the things pertaining to the kingdom of God. Acts chapter 1 verse 3. Many infallible proofs. But at this time, I would like just to use 3. Because according to 1SR 232, 1SR 232, it says, by all Bible students, Numbers 3 and 7 are accepted to be the biblical numbers to a certain scriptural truths. Why is it that I will only prove to you 3? Because that is our subject. To explain track number 3, page 86. Track number 3, page 86. So, we will go back to that statement. Now, here in track number 3, 1934 edition, it says, page 64, numerical illustration of ingathering. So, it is numerical illustration of ingathering. And the illustration is found on the 40 typical days. Now, let us go back, brothers and sisters. According to the reading in track number 3, 3rd edition on page 6, the 40 days typify all the ingathering. Now, let us read the shepherd's rod. Track number 3. So let's read the statement given by the voice of inspiration. Track number 3 on page 85 and also track number 5. in track number 5, it says, I would like to read first, track number 5. On page, I think 103, 102, and also 108. Okay? In 102, it says, to correct their misunderstanding on Daniel 8:14, the prophetic word of God declared, thou must prophesy again. That is, repeat the preaching of Christ coming to earth. But as his people were then greatly confused and unable to reconcile the scriptures, God sent into their midst one Ellen G. Harmon, 17 years of age, to be his mouthpiece, and to them she was given a vision related to the disappointment and the ingathering of the first fruits, the 144,000. Now, let us read 108. Thus, the doctrine of the investigative judgment, along with the doctrine of ingathering and numbering the 144,000, comprises the present truth committed to the Seventh-day Adventist denomination in 1844, and these two great truths up to the additional message today, early writings page 277, the Seventh-day Adventist denomination was to proclaim before many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. So what doctrine that had been given by God to Sister White? First, the investigative judgment of the dead. Second, the ingathering of the 144,000. Third, the numbering of the 144,000. And then the Shepherd's Rod says that these two doctrines and that these two great truths, what the two great truths? The truths in 1844 and the truths in 1930. And these two great truths up to the additional message of today, early writings page 277, the Seventh-day Adventist denomination was to proclaim to before many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. Who are they? The many peoples, nations, tongues, and kings. Now let us read the statement in track number 5 so that we could understand who are they. Track number 5, 105. The trumpet symbolism has now brought us up to the time of the ingathering of the first fruits, the 144,000. First fruits predicate second fruits, for it is necessarily true that there can be no first when there is no second. Wherefore, just as there is a prophetic commission for the ingathering of the first fruits from many nations. So who are they, the many nations? The first fruits, the 144,000, brothers and sisters. They were not taken from all nations. But as far as the Shepherd's Rod is thus concerned, how many nations recorded in the prophecy by which the 144,000 are to be taken? Now let us read in answerer number 3. Answerer number 3 on page 77. Answerer number 3, page 77. It says, these verses, that is pointing to Micah 4, 6, and 7, because Micah 4, 6, and 7 pointing to the 144,000 living saints. It says, these verses bring to view 3 nations. Only 3 nations. Halted, driven out, and afflicted. Since there are 3 nations, therefore, who are they? Represented by driven out and afflicted. Let us go first to page 78. She that is driven out can be none other than the 10-tribe kingdom. So that is other nation. And she that is afflicted is the 2-tribe kingdom, Judah. So other nation. And the one that is afflicted, she is represented by the woman. In the upper portion it says, and she is the one that needs to be assembled because she is scattered and divided into schisms. Then when assembled, she will constitute the woman's remnant. Revelation 12:17. Although that is not our subject. Let us go back to our subject, brothers and sisters. Concerning the ingathering. Investigative judgment that pertains to the dead. And ingathering of the 144,000. And the numbering of the 144,000. It was completely revealed by the 40 typical days. What is the given number in the type? 18, brothers and sisters, 13, and 27. So, there are 3 given numbers concerning the type. And we need to look at the matching number to make 40 days, type and antitype. Now, when does the commencement of the investigative judgment of the dead? So, let us now gradually decipher the 40 typical days. So we have only 18, 13, and 27. The 3 numbers of the type. When does the commencement of the investigative judgment of the dead? October 22, 1844. Would you think it is just mere happenstance? 18 plus 22 equals 40. No, it is purposive design. Because that is the statement in tract number 3, page 86. From Christ's resurrection to His ascension, the 40 typical days are consequently typical of the period from 1844. What is the period from 1844? Judgment of the dead. When does it commence? October 22. Therefore, brothers and sisters, it is matching Bible calendar to Gregorian calendar. April 18, then October 22. 18 plus 22 equals 40. Now let us read tract number, Old Symbolic Code. That is the commencement of the judgment of the dead. How about the ingathering? When does the ingathering commence? So let us read the statement. The Symbolic Code. Old Symbolic Code, 3 Symbolic Code, 5 and 6, page 13. 3 Symbolic Code, 5 and 6, page 13. This query is answered in tract number 3. The harvest, in the illustration on page 44, of which the barley sheaf of the first fruits is pictured in type and antitype. That is, the ceremonial sheaf of barley prefigured the resurrection of Christ, the first fruits, including those who arose with Him. These resurrected ones constituted the spiritual sheep which, at the beginning of the judgment of 1844, was offered before the Father as a sheep offering of the living first fruits. Now the question is, when does the sheep offering will be offered? It is on the Passover week. Now let us read tract number 3. Tract number 3. It says here, The statement given by the voice of inspiration. Track number 3 on page 78. The wave ship was to be offered on the morrow after the Sabbath, that is, on the first day of the week, now commonly called Sunday. This offering was to be presented not on a special day of the month, but rather a special day of the week, before the sickle was put to the grain and gathered into sheaves. Leviticus 23:11 and 14. Coming just at the right time, in the season of the first fruits. The Passover week was the period in which the wave ship was usually offered. Only on the Passover week. Now, brothers and sisters, October 22, 1844, that is Day of Atonement. Therefore, the 1844 mentioned here in 3 Symbolic Code 5 and 6, page 13, is not Gregorian calendar, but Bible calendar. Because October 22, 1844, in Bible calendar, that is October 11, 1843. Therefore, the next year in Bible calendar is 1844. The same pattern of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Now, let us look at April 18 in timeanddeath.com, Bible calendar. April 18, 1844. You see, brothers and sisters, April 18, 1844, in Bible calendar, that is the time by which the 144,000 living saints did the type, those that had been resurrected by Jesus Christ. They were offered in the heavenly sanctuary and gathered their names into the book of the congregation of the living to serve as the living type, according to track number 3. But the miraculous truth there is that April 18, 1844, in Bible calendar, in Gregorian, that is April 27. You see, Gregorian, April 27, 1845. Therefore, 13 plus 27 equals 40. So, this one is Gregorian. In Bible, let us put Bible calendar here. October 11, 1843. And here, Gregorian calendar, April 27, 1845. The day by which the wave ship is offered, and it is, in Bible calendar, it is April 18, 1844. You see, brothers and sisters, think it thoroughly. My dear brothers and sisters, if you think that it is just a mere happenstance. No. It is purposive design because it is infallible proofs, my dear brothers and sisters, then pointing to the last day of atonement. April 27 is the time by which the wave ship is offered. But look at, brothers and sisters, the last and final day of atonement of blotting out of names. October 10, 2022. You see, in Gregorian calendar, March 27, 2021, therefore, it is completely revealed, brothers and sisters, both the commencement and the end part. 13 plus 27 equals 40. It is March 27, 2021. In Bible calendar, it is October 10, 2022. It is infallible proof. Why? Because there will be no more October 10 that will fall on March 27. Only in 2021. The same with this pattern. There will be no more October 22, October 22. that in Bible calendar is October 10 and 11. No more. Happens only once in a lifetime. And that is why, without any doubts, this is infallible proof that the last and the final day of atonement of blotting out of names is revealed by God by the 40 typical days. Brothers and sisters, 40 typical days. 3 infallible proofs. Commencement of the ingathering, a commencement of the judgment that pertains to the dead, or the commencement of the cleansing of the sanctuary, the waving of the sheep, and then the last day of atonement, when the cleansing of the sanctuary will be finished. These 3 is revealed by 40 typical days. Brothers and sisters. Now, another proof that we will show to you. Now, brothers and sisters, in the shepherd's rod, track number 1, page 29 and 30, God commanded Ezekiel to eat the book, and that is the Bible. Remember, in 1 TG 22, page 30, it says, God delegates no other to be watchman of his people except Ezekiel. 1 TG 22, page 30. There is no other watchman delegated by God to his people except Ezekiel. That Ezekiel is antitypical Ezekiel. Very slow. 1 TG 22, page 30. Aside from Ezekiel, God's mouthpiece, God delegates no other to be a watchman of the people. 1 TG 22:30. But the focal point of the message of Ezekiel is the day of marking and slaying. Now, why is it that from the time God showed the vision to Ezekiel, in Ezekiel 1, it took 25 years, then repeated again the same vision, according to the testimony of Ezekiel? Now, I would like to read the Bible itself. Let us go to the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 40. It says here, Ezekiel 40 verse 1. In the 25th year of our captivity, in the beginning of the year, in the 10th day of the month, in the 14th year, after that the city was smitten, in the same day, the hand of the Lord was upon me and brought me hither. So, here, brothers and sisters, in Ezekiel 40 verse 1, is indicating Day of Atonement, the 10th day, and that is on the 7th month. But that is the 25th year. Now, here on Ezekiel 43, verse 1 and 2, it says, Ezekiel 43, verse 1 and 2, Afterward he brought me to the gate, even the gate that looketh toward the east. And behold, the glory of the God of Israel came from the way of the east, and his voice was like a noise of many waters, and the earth shined with his glory. And it was according to the appearance of the vision which I saw, even according to the vision. that I saw when I came to destroy the city, and the visions were like the vision that I saw by the river Chebar, and I fell upon my face. And in verse 7 it says, and he said unto me, Son of man, the place of my throne, and the place of the soles of my feet, where I will dwell in the midst of the children of Israel forever, and my holy name shall the house of Israel no more defile, neither they nor they their kings by their whoredom, nor by the carcasses of their kings in their high places. Now, ponder deeply, brothers and sisters. Would you think it is just a mere happenstance, 25 years? Now, the same. How many years that God lead His people through Joshua? 25 years. How many years that God led His people through Beti-Hotep? 25 years. Would you think these 25 years are just a mere happenstance? How many years that God gave vision to Ezekiel? 25 years. Now, I would like to read the statement here in Ezekiel 45, verse 18. And just tell me if this verse has no accurate significance. It says, thus saith the Lord, in the first month, so that is April, in the first day of the month, April 1, thou shalt take a young bullock without blemish, and cleanse the sanctuary. Brothers and sisters, we know bullock is also a cow. Young. The same with Isaiah 7, young cow. Now, the question is that, when does the cleansing of the sanctuary will take place? Day of Atonement. Now, let us read 2SR 187. And also 218. 2SR page 187. It says here, the statement given by the voice of inspiration. So, it is on the Day of Atonement. This was a day it was called the Day of Atonement, Judgment, or Cleansing of the Sanctuary. 2SR 187. It was called the Day of Atonement, the Judgment, or Cleansing of the Sanctuary. 218. It says, brothers and sisters, still saying that it is on the Day of Atonement. Does the Day of Antithetical Atonement, Judgment, or Cleansing of the Sanctuary? Or in other words, you cannot find a statement either in the Bible or in the Spirit prophecy that April 1 is a day of cleansing. Thus the Bible was mistaken. I have a testimony of the all Bible scholars. They say that they cannot explain Ezekiel 45 verse 18. Why is it that the cleansing of the sanctuary occurred in April 1? And they say that, does the Lord change the ceremonial system? No. Because this is the fulfillment, brothers and sisters, in the 25 years. From 1995, what is 1995? That is from 1955 plus 40, the last 40 years recorded as the antitype, ended on 1995 plus 25, you will fall on 2020. Would you think it is just a mere happenstance, brethren? Now let us look at April 1, 2020. Gregorian calendar. April 1, 2020. You see in Bible calendar, that is October 10, 2021. So, brothers and sisters, it cannot be mistaken. 1,000 years ago, it was already predicted beforehand that the statement given by the shepherd's rod, let me read to you, tract number 3 on page 20. It says, plainly, therefore, the judgment is to begin and the sanctuary to be cleansed, not before, but after the fulfillment of the period for those appointed to die. So when does the judgment for the living will begins? After the period of the cleansing of all the names under the sixth seal, the altar, Revelation 14:13, by which they were judged in the heavenly sanctuary while living. And it was revealed that it was ended in April 1, 2020, because that is Day of Atonement, the final Day of Atonement that pertains to the dead. Therefore, it was closed, predicted beforehand in the Bible, and then commenced the judgment for the living. By which the judgment for the living is revealed by the 40 typical days, March 27, 2021. So the infallible proofs is revealed from Bible to Gregorian. What is another absolute and infallible proof? The new moon. The new moon. Now, let us read again the testimony. Will you please project? I am inclined to believe that paragraph, but I will just quote the quotation, Psalms 81 verse 3. Without inspiration, we will never know that Psalms 81 verse 3 is pointing to the Day of Atonement. So project that paragraph. So I would like to read Psalms 81. Psalms 81 verse 3. It says here, blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed on our solemn feast day. So the solemn feast day mentioned here is the Day of Atonement. And it is God who controls the heavenly bodies. So let us show to you again the comparison of the new moon in 1844 and in 2020. That God is a perfect God. The new moon in 1844 appeared in September 30, 1843, Bible calendar, in Gregorian October 11. Now, 11 plus 10 equals October 21. Therefore, October 21 is the Day of Atonement. Then, October 22 commences the investigative judgment that pertains to the dead. How about in 2020? The new moon appeared on March 24, 2020. Then, you will count 10 days from March 24, you will fall on April 2. It is, why is it that it is opposite? This one is, you will add 10 Day of Atonement because the commencement is October 11. Why is it that it is opposite, ended in October 11? Because this is the end part, this is the beginning part. So in October 11, 2021 Bible calendar, but in Gregorian, April 2, the judgment that pertains to the dead, blotting out of names in the first apartment, holy place, completely finished. And that is why the commencement of the judgment for the living begins in April 2, 2020. It cannot be mistaken. You can oppose this message, but you cannot hinder the fulfillment of it. This coming March 27, 2021, because there will be no other Day of Atonement that will exactly fits the 40 typical days, except March 27, 2021. Now let us try the Day of Atonement in October 10, 2023. Bible. October 10, 2023. You see March 22, brothers and sisters. This March 22 is the blotting out of sins of the 144,000 living saints. Therefore, it cannot be mistaken. Because, brothers and sisters, the only that will match October 22. What is October 22? 1844. This is Tuesday. Perfectly matched to the vernal equinox, March 22. Because this is autumnal. March 22, 2022. And this is also Tuesday. It will never happen again because this is infallible proof. Brothers and sisters. 22. So, what matches 22? To make it 40. April 18. The resurrection of Jesus Christ. Plus 22 equals 40. What matches the commencement of the cleansing of the sanctuary? Still April 18 plus October 22, 1844, 40. The waving of the sheep, 13. The remaining days is 13 plus April 27 equals 40. The last and final Day of Atonement, 13 plus March 27 equals 40. Would you think it is just a mere happenstance, brothers and sisters? It will never happen again. There will be no more Gregorian calendar that will typify or will match up to make it 40. Only 1844, 1845, 2021, 2022. We are talking first about the marking and sealing and the cleansing of the sanctuary. No other. Now let us try to show to you. October 10, 2024. You see, there is no more match up of this number. March 17, we have only three numbers, 18, 13, and 27. So, this one has no more partner to make it 40 on the three given numbers by inspiration. 2025. You see 11? No more. 2026. You see 6? 2027. You see 1? 2028. 2029. 2030. 2031. 2031 is the end part, the year of Jubilee. So, 100%, brothers and sisters, there is no doubt, the year 2021 and 2022 is the last 2 years. That is the predicted event in the General Conference Bulletin that 2 years from that date, we will be in the kingdom era, brothers and sisters. In 2022, September 22, 2022, is the midnight deliverance of God's people. God will deliver them and will bring them to Mount Zion, the pre-millennial kingdom. And we will gradually show to you that all these dates that we gave to you is recorded in the Shepherd's Rod, supported by a thus saith the Lord. April 1, 2020. What is a thus saith the Lord? Ezekiel 45:18. There is no April 1 in Gregorian calendar that in Bible calendar is October 10 except 2020. No other April 1, brothers and sisters, that in Bible calendar is is October 10. Only in 2020. And the Bible is very plain. Ezekiel 45:18. The cleansing of the sanctuary that pertains to the dead. Brothers and sisters, that would be on April 1. First month and first day of the month, April 1. And nobody had been able to explain that verse because they had no understanding concerning the Bible calendar in terms of the present Roman Gregorian calendar. So we will continue this subject, brothers and sisters, on our next episode. To repeat again, brethren, this message is not against you. It is a message to inform the 144,000 that we are nearing home. My dear brothers and sisters, we love you, brethren. Thank you very much and have a beautiful, wonderful evening.